Good afternoon, and welcome to the Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union 2017 Lunch and Learn series. Today's presentation is brought to you in partnership with Coffee, a nationwide financial coaching and education center focusing on improving the financial health of individuals. As the premier credit union of Prince George's County, they have partnered with Coffee to expand their mission of providing quality financial education to their community and lending insight into credit management, home ownership, and money management. Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union is a full-service financial institution serving anyone who lives, works, or worships in Prince George's County, Maryland. This year they are celebrating 50 years in the business and are one of the county's best-kept secrets with competitive loan and savings rates as well as discounts to national retailers. They currently serve over 16,000 members in the area and welcome you to come and experience the benefits of membership as well. Later on in the presentation, I will display their contact information and answer any specific questions you may have concerning your financial needs. Please note that today's webinar is live and all phone lines have been muted. If you have questions, please feel free to type it into the question field on the right-hand side of your menu bar. All questions are private and will be addressed at the end of our discussion. We will be offering free 60-minute financial coaching sessions with the completion of 3 webinars. More information will be given at the end of today's presentation. Lastly, a recording of today's session will be available within 2 days. Details will be sent to your email following the presentation. And with that, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Charmaine Williams, and I will be your presenter today. We're going to go ahead and get started. And firstly, we're going to talk about the definition of credit. So credit is your ability to borrow money. Anytime a bank, finance company, or business lends you money and you agree to pay it back at a later date, you are using credit. And in most cases, there is a charge for borrowing the money, either in the form of fees or interest, or both. Now here's a bit of credit history for you. Monitoring credit behavior has been around for as long as merchants have been extending credit to others. Over time, technology has contributed to the speed at which a credit grantor can make a determination as to whether or not to extend credit to a given individual. But the concepts developed in the mid to late 1800s still form the basis of today's credit decisions. Now basically, a credit score is a number that summarizes a consumer's credit risk and can change due to factors. Those factors are based on the things that you do and your behaviors. So again, it's a snapshot of a person's credit picture. The higher the score, the request for credit will be approved and receive favorable interest rates. And the credit score changes for good or bad over time depending on credit history. I'm going to talk a bit about what makes up your credit score. Now, as you can see by what's on the screen, the largest chunk of what makes up your score is your payment history. But you also have to pay attention to the others. The 30%, the amounts owed, the other 10%, the types of credit in use, those are also very important in impacting your credit score. That represents how a person uses your credit. In the 30%, the amounts that owed, they want to know or see how much is too much. How much is owed as a percentage of the total available credit on each account, and in total the amount owed compared to the total available credit. So that's what they're going to look at when they pull your credit report. And then in that 10% of the types of credit in use, they want to see, is there a healthy mix of revolving and installment debt? Now, revolving is credit cards, store cards, etc. Installment would be something like a car payment, something that you pay the same every month until it's completely paid off. The amounts don't change. Now, you have to remember that a FICO score takes all of these factors into consideration, not just one or two. And the importance of any factors depends on the overall information in the consumer's credit file. The levels of importance shown in the diagram are for the general population and will have different effects on different credit profiles. Okay, but remember, 35% payment history. That's why it's always important to pay your bills on time every month. 30%, the amount that you owe. Again, 10% the type of credits in use. 15% is the length of credit history. How long have you had established credit? Okay? And the other 10% is new credit. Every time you open a new card or you apply for a new loan. So 10% of that is what makes up your credit score. What's not included in your credit score is race, color, religion, national origin, sex, or marital status, your age, your salary or your occupation or employer, and where you live. Those items are not, they do not affect your credit score. Now we're going to talk a bit about what's on your report. Now, as you can see here, the first step in building a better credit report is to understand what's on your report now. The three major credit reporting agencies are Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Again, these are all for-profit companies. They're private, separate, for-profit companies. And you can get all of your reports for free at annualcreditreport.com or dialing the number on your screen, 877-322-8228 to pull your report for free. Now there are 5 information zones on your credit report. The first one is personal information. So this is compiled from the credit applications that you have filled out, and it normally includes your name, current and recent addresses, your social security number, date of birth, and current and previous employers. The next section is the credit scoring results and summary section. And this section contains the summary of all the factors that make up your credit score. And in the notes that you can download on the right-hand side of your screen, we'll have examples of what they are and the codes as well. Now this shows the major contributing issues that will help explain to the consumer why their credit score may be less than perfect. The next section is trade lines and any derogatory accounts. The bulk of your credit report consists of details about credit accounts that were opened in your name or that list you as an authorized user. The account details which are supplied by the creditor include the date the account was opened, the credit limit or the amount of the loan, the payment terms, the balance, and a history that show whether or not you've paid the account on time. Closed or inactive accounts, depending on the manner in which they were paid, stay on the report for 7 to 10 years from the date of their last activity, and sometimes indefinitely. So this is why it pays to pull your credit report and look at it to make sure that the information on there is correct. The next section is inquiries. The 3 credit bureaus record an inquiry whenever your credit report is generated for another party, such as a lender, service provider, etc. Now, inquiries remain on your report for up to 2 years, but only impact your score for 1. Now, the ones that impact your score are what are known as hard inquiries. So anytime you give your social security number and you apply for credit, whether it's a credit card, a loan, maybe car financing, etc., those are what are known as hard inquiries. And those are the ones that affect your score. If you were to pull your score for yourself or an employer or insurance for some reason, those are what are known as soft inquiries. So those don't affect your score, but they will show up on your credit report, okay? And then lastly, there's public records. So in this section, you will find public records obtained from a government source such as court of law, and they would include liens, bankruptcies, child support if they have anything overdue. So those things will be on your report as well. There's also another part that you can add to your credit report yourself. It would be known as a consumer statement. So if for some reason you've had issues in the past and you want to explain that, like, okay, maybe for some reason you lost employment and you missed a few payments on your accounts. So it's going to show negative payment history on your credit report. But then you found new employment and you started making your payments again and you're back on track. You can write what is known as a consumer statement, send it to the credit bureaus and say that you would like this included onto your credit report as an explanation of what happened. So that way, if someone does pull your credit and they're like, well, hey, you have a bunch of past dues here or whatever, you could be like, all right, well, this is what happened. I have it explained on my credit report right there, but I'm back on track. My accounts are back to where they're supposed to be, and it was just a hiccup. So you could put that onto your credit report as well, but you have to physically write your letter or type your letter and send it to each credit bureau that you want that as a consumer statement placed on your report. Okay, so I'm hoping all of this makes sense, but again, you can ask questions and we'll address them at the end of the presentation. So now you want to know, how long can negative information haunt you? So when it comes to bankruptcies, it's 10 years from the date of dismissal, if dismissed, and that's for Chapter 7. Chapter 13 will stay on for 7 years. Any civil suits, judgments, or records of arrest, again, 7 years from the date of entry. Paid tax liens are 7 years from the date that they were paid. Unpaid tax liens, obviously indefinitely until the lien is paid. Collection or charge-off accounts, 7 years unless it's government student loans. And any other adverse information, again, 7 years, especially 7 years from the date of last activity. So you want to make sure that your accounts are closed in good standing. If you have anything that you have to close, or if you're finished paying off a loan, you want it to be closed in good standing. You don't want it to be derogatory. You don't want anything to be sent to collections if necessary. So that's why it's important to pay the bills on time every month. I'm going to talk a little bit about ID theft. Approximately 15 million United States residents have had their identities used fraudulently each year, with financial losses totaling upwards of $50 billion. So this is why it's important to check your credit report at least once a year. All three. You're entitled to your report for free once a year from all three bureaus. Okay? And when you get it, you want to go over it with a fine-tooth comb. Make sure all of your personal data is reporting accurately. If it's a misspelling of a name, if your date of birth is off by a number, you know, if you've never lived at an address, but that address is listed on your credit report, those are flags. You want to make sure that the information on your report is accurate. If you can, if you want to, enroll in credit monitoring. That way, if anything happens, you'll get a notification. And you always want to be careful with your information, okay? Shred your statements, your bank statements when they come in the mail. Shred your credit card statements. Don't just throw away the garbage, because there are what are known as dumpster divers, and they will take your information and use that for their own purposes. So you don't want your credit affected by something that someone else has done. So next we're going to talk about building positive new credit references. I see there's a question, but again, I'll address the questions at the end of the presentation. So when you build positive new credit references, if you're on your path to rebuilding your credit, again, you want to start doing things properly. You want to use credit carefully and wisely, and always pay your bills on time. Consumers who are proactive about rebuilding their credit after problems have occurred can see significant improvement in as little as a year or two. So I'm going to offer you some tips. Lenders will want to see at least a couple of recent credit accounts paid on time. If you still have open accounts, use them periodically for things that you would buy anyway, and then make sure to pay the bill well before the due date. Carrying balances and paying interest is not necessary for rebuilding good credit. Now remember, 30% of what makes up your score is the amounts that you owe. So you don't have to have a balance on that credit card in order to build good credit. If you don't currently have any credit cards, it may be a good idea to get one. You want to try and avoid those guaranteed approval cards, because that could cost a couple of $100s in fees. A better bet is a legitimate secured card, where you place a security deposit with the lender in exchange for a major credit card with a modest credit limit. Okay? And never pay your bills late. Always, always, always pay them on time. Next, I'm going to talk a bit about alternative credit. I'm not sure if any of you have ever heard of this or know what it's about, but this is where you'll get credit per se for bills that you pay on a monthly basis that do not report to traditional credit bureaus. So alternative credit scoring is a great option for those with limited or no credit or bad credit. This is a way to help build non-traditional credit. This report is not associated with the 3 credit bureaus, but it is being used more widely now for things that your traditional credit is pulled for. Many lenders are using this for deciding factors before issuing credit. So what can be added to your alternative credit or non-traditional credit files are rent, utilities, car insurance, cell phone, gym memberships, monthly subscriptions such as Netflix or Hulu. So again, anything that you pay on a monthly basis that you don't get traditional credit for, you can add to an account like this. So if you were to just go into the internet and go onto Google and type in alternative credit, you'll get a lot of different sites. And, obviously verify them, make sure that they are reputable, um, free to sign up, and most of them give you a credit score of anywhere from 3 or 350 to 850, just like a traditional credit score. But these are items, again, that will not be on your traditional credit report. But you can use this as to help as a deciding factor if you are applying for something, whether it's you want to finance furniture or you want to finance a new car or something. They legally have to take this into consideration when they are looking at your information. Okay, so it's something to look at. It's something that you should be aware of and that we feel that you should know about. Now I'm going to talk about your credit responsibilities. Obviously, you only want to borrow what you can repay. Don't overindulge yourself or overextend yourself, excuse me. You want to borrow only what you can repay. You want to read and understand your credit card contract. Pay your debts promptly. On time is on or before the due date. If for some reason you cannot make your payment, notify your creditors, okay? Set up an arrangement. They're more likely to work with you when you contact them than if they have to come looking for you, okay? Avoid buying on impulse. And if you lose your card, report lost or stolen credit cards right away. And never give your credit card number over the phone unless you initiate the call or are certain of the identity of the caller. Remember, identity theft is a big factor nowadays, so you want to be careful with your information. So you always want to make sure to follow your agreement. Pay your credit cards according to the terms of your agreement. If you can, pay online. A lot of people don't use mail anymore to send out like checks or money orders or etc. I mean, if you do, you want to make sure you mail it well in advance. But if you don't, pay online. It's quick, it's easy. Usually there are no fees and you don't have to worry about being late. You want to keep your balances low. Do not charge anything more on the card until you have paid off your account balance. Keep your balance at approximately 10% or less of your available credit. I know in most cases they say 30%, but the lower it is, the better it is for you. Always read all important information. Read your statements and all information sent by your creditor, as it may be very important changes to your account. Don't skip payments. If for some reason you can't pay it, again, notify them. Let them know, set up an arrangement so that way they don't mark you late on your credit report. Don't go over your credit limit. That will damage your credit history and lower your credit score, and it'll also incur fees over the limit fees. Minimize your use of cash advances. This is usually a very expensive source of funds. The interest rate on a cash advance on a credit card are a lot higher than just a regular interest rate if you charge something. And this last one, it's a personal preference. It says you don't really have to buy credit card protection plans, but that is, again, up to you. That is a personal preference. If you feel you may need it in the future, if you just want that added protection, then go ahead. But in most cases, a lot of people don't use it and end up paying a monthly fee every month for credit card protection, and that's just an added waste of money, okay? So that, again, is up to you. That's a personal preference. Now I'm going to invite Charmaine Buckner from the credit union to discuss their current promotions that they have. And then after that, we'll get into the question and answer period. So let me see if I could get Charmaine on the line.
Hello?
Charmaine?
Yes,
Hi, Charmaine.
Charmaine.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm sorry it took a while for me to unmute on my end.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm Charmaine Buckner from Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union, and I'd just like to thank everybody for joining the call today. We do have a number of products and tools out there that could really help you along this process of, cleaning up your credit and improving your credit. One thing that I like to mention before we even mention what's on the screen right now is a product called the Credit Enhancer Tool. And this is a wonderful tool if you're trying to establish credit or improve your existing credit score. And the way it works is that you can borrow as little as $500 all the way up to $3,500, and the loan is secured in your savings account for the duration of that loan term. And what happens is that once you paid off the loan, those funds then belong to you. Then along the journey, what you're doing is that with paying it back each month, you're improving your credit score. So I know that Charmaine Williams talked about a couple of slides ago having, a secure loan type product that would help you along that journey. And so if you're interested, later on in the presentation, Charmaine is going to show our contact information, and you can ask a little bit about that. But also, too, another way, too, that you can help to improve your credit score is also, too, just kind of thinking about the overall debt that you have at other financial institutions, trying to decrease that payment each month and using that money then to pay faster on your loans. And so we do have a promotion that's going on right now that talks about having your loan love you back. And so if you have any cars, boat loans, RVs, motorcycles at other financial institutions, we welcome you to see if you can refinance them with our organization. And what happens is that you're going to get 25 basis points or 0.25% of the value of that loan back in cash. So if you're interested in that, visit our website. It's located on the screen, or just give us a call when the contact information pops up on the screen, and we can tell you a little bit more about that. Thanks so much, Charmaine.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you. All right. So I see we have a question here. So I'm going to address the question before we get to the next slide with the contact information that Charmaine was mentioning. It says, how long, again, does the negative information stay on your credit after a Chapter 13? So after a Chapter 13, it stays on for 7 years from the date of dismissal or discharge. So that's 7 years. Okay, are there any other questions? Because that seems to be the only question that was asked. So I hope that I covered everything that we're looking for. Yes, you have your hand raised. Did you have something that you wanted to ask me as I'm going through the list? Okay, I guess I covered everything. I know this is supposed to be part 1 in a series of credit seminars or webinars that we are doing online for you all. So I'll get into more about rebuilding and how to dispute items, et cetera, et cetera. So if there are any other questions regarding what I discussed today, I'd be glad to answer them right now. If not, I will display the contact information and end the webinar today. So let's see. Chapter 7 stays on your report for 13 years from the date of dismissal or discharge. Okay. The phone number to get your free credit report, I'll give you that right now, is 877-322-8228. Or you can go onto the website, that's annualcreditreport, all one word, .com. Are there any other questions for me? Why is it so difficult to get? Okay, this will probably be a question for Charmaine, so I'm going to bring her back on and then I'll read the question and she could answer that for you. Charmaine, are you back? Oh, no, I think I lost her. I'm going to read the question anyways, and hopefully she'll get back that she can answer the question for you. Why is it so difficult to get a loan with the credit union when before it was simpler? I'm not exactly sure. Charmaine, can you address that?
Well, it really depends on a number of factors. To explain that, I guess we would have to do that on a one-on-one basis. It really has to deal with credit worthiness and a composition of a number of things. So we encourage you to just reach out to us and give us a call, and we can guide you through that, and also show you, you know, if there are things that you could change, so that next time that you come to us, we can work with you to see if we could get you approved.
Okay, thank you. I hope that answered that question. Thank you very much. I have another question here. It says, if defaulted on a timeshare property mortgage, how long does that stay on your credit report? That's a good question. I'm not sure how long a defaulted timeshare property would stay. Sorry, I said 7. It's 10 years, not 13 years. You're right. It's 10 years for a chapter 7. I had 10. I don't know why I had 13 years in my head. 10 years for a chapter 7, 7 years for a chapter 13. But as for the mortgage question, I could find out that information and have someone contact you to let you know for sure, because that's a good question. I'm not 100% on the timeshare one. Are there any other questions for me? I see. Did I get everything? All right, so again, I'll answer. We'll have someone email you about the timeshare question, but if there are no other questions, then I will display the contact. I'll display the contact information. Give me 1 second. Okay, I don't believe there are any other questions. So if they're not, let's display that contact information, and then we'll have you guys get the contact information. Okay. Sorry, 1 second. I have another question. It's not from the date filed. The date of dismissal or discharge is how long the bankruptcy stay on your credit report, not from the date that you filed the bankruptcy, from the date that it was dismissed or discharged. That's how long that it stays. Are there any other questions? It should say the handout says the date filed. It should say the date dismissed or discharged. That's probably a typo. So that's why I'm letting you know. It's from the date that it was dismissed or discharged. I have another question here. You're welcome. Is it true that by taking out a personal loan, it will help your credit score? Now, again, remember when you first apply for that loan, you're going to take a hit on your credit score because that's a hard inquiry. But your credit score will improve if you do pay that loan on time every month, if you are paying to the terms that you agreed on when you signed the paperwork. So again, 35% of what makes up your score is your payment history. So you want to make sure that you pay everything on time. So eventually, as long as you're paying on time, yes, your credit score will increase. So I hope that answers that question. Are there any other questions? You're very welcome. Are there any other questions for me? Okay, I think we're good. So if we're good there with the questions, I would like to thank you for attending today's educational webinar. To learn more about Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union or to speak to a member service representative, please visit princegeorgescfcu.org. As you can see that on the screen. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Interrupting myself. I have another question. Give me 1 second. Oh, you're very welcome. You have a general question. You can go ahead and ask the question. I'll read it out and then I'll answer it to the best of my ability. Okay, so you're interested or in the process of rebuilding your credit, okay? The first thing that you're going to want to do, obviously you probably have, is pull your credit report. Oh, you want to know what the credit union can do to help you. Oh, cool. So Charmaine, would you be able to dial back in?
I'm
Hello?
here.
Yes, all right.
Yes,
She has
I'm
a
here.
question of what the credit union can do to help her because she's interested in rebuilding her credit.
Yes. We just briefly discussed the credit enhancer product that we have. Give us a call and ask about our credit enhancer product that helps to basically what it is that you're putting funds into your share account and borrowing against your share. And that month by month, once paid, really helps you to boost your credit score. But we would love to talk to you one-on-one about the product and get you set up. So
Okay,
definitely just contact us. I'm sorry?
She said she called. She said she wanted to know if the credit enhancer info is on the credit union website.
It is. It's definitely after. It's under the personal loan section. You can read a little bit more about that there.
And is that like a secured line of credit? That's the other question.
It's a fixed loan. It's not a line of credit. And then you pay it back within a certain term. And the amount is up to $3,500.
Okay, so it's like a credit builder loan.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, you're very welcome. Okay, she said thank you. So yes, it's like a credit builder loan. Thank you very much, Charmaine.
No problem.
All right, so with that being said, I hope that got all of your questions answered. Thank you very much. Again, call the number on the screen, 301-627-2666, or visit the website. And also to schedule your free 60-minute financial coaching session, please call Coffee at 866-459-5165. And again, I would like to thank you very much for attending today. I hope you found all of the information very helpful. And remember that this is part one of a 3-part series on credit. So we're looking forward to seeing you guys or having you attend next month. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.